Hey, what's up guys, Stay Patient here, and back by popular demand, this is the Subs Trophy Collection review series. Now this was an idea that was brought to me last year by one of our subscribers, I believe it was Lucas, and I ran with it. I put up a video back in November reviewing Sylvanus's account, and although I was hoping to make it a regular feature at the time, I just didn't have a chance to do so. I was far too busy. But recently I have dedicated more time to the channel, and so I'm going to be reviving this series, and I'm thinking it's probably going to be up once every 3 weeks on the Saturday. Now I'm sort of in the middle of sorting out a schedule for the channel, and I will do a video regarding that once I've sorted everything out. But this is basically the second episode. It's been several months, so a lot of you won't be aware of this series, so it's pretty much like a new series, or like a reboot, I guess. And what we do here is basically take a look at the trophy collection belonging to one of our subscribers. Now when I put up the first video, although the channel was a lot smaller back then, it only had around 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers, I received a huge number of requests from people who wanted me to review their account. Now because of that, I've actually had to turn it into a Patreon reward, so if you would like your account reviewed in the same manner as this video, then check out my Patreon page, and for $6 a month you'll be able to put yourself onto the list to get reviewed. And then of course once you've had the review done, if you want to step down to the $5 tier or the $1 or change to whatever you like, even cancel it, that's absolutely fine. But there were just simply far too many requests for me to get through, and like I say, that was back when the channel was a lot smaller. Now it's got 3 or 4 times as many subscribers, and so you can just imagine how many requests I would get if I made this open to everyone. I just simply wouldn't be able to get through them all. Anyway, you'll notice that I'm not on webcam today. I apologise for that, but I don't actually have my tripod at the moment. It's been taken by my brother, who's gone to Africa for a few weeks. He's gone to Uganda to meet up with my other brother, who's there with his wife for 6 months. But we're here today to review the account belonging to one of my Patreon producers. That's anyone who subscribes for $20 or more a month on Patreon. So this is Darren's account. It's called LoneliestPanda, and just to explain to those of you who are new to the series, basically we just do a review of the trophies. We're not sort of critiquing them, we're not scoring them or anything like that. It's all about sort of investigating what kind of trophy hunter someone is, talking about the games they've played, maybe giving them some advice on games that they haven't finished yet. And, it's very much a positive review because we're all different when it comes to trophy hunting. We all have different goals, and that's what we're here to find out. We're here to sort of figure out what we can about Darren, what kind of trophy hunter he is, what kind of gamer he is, and just have some fun discussing some random games that crop up in his collection. Now, one new thing I'm going to be doing at the start of each of these episodes is sharing a little snippet with you from the actual person themselves, the owner of the account. I'm going to have them just write out a bit of a summary, making any statements they wish to make about their account, maybe describing a little bit about their trophy hunting history and things like that. So this is Darren's here. He says, I originally started trophy hunting as a challenge to beat my friend who was at 39 plats, and still is to this day. Well, he's doing well at beating him. Ever since then, I've loved earning trophies and platinums. I love a good challenge when it comes to trophies, even if they do make me angry or if I fail at numerous attempts. If I want a platinum, I'll get it no matter how hard or how challenging. So from this statement here about, if he wants a platinum, he'll work for it, this kind of makes me think that he's probably going to be one of those players that doesn't necessarily platinum every game he plays, but if he enjoys it, it doesn't matter how hard it is, he's going to put the effort into finishing it off. And that's kind of backed up in a way by his completion percentage. Now, there's nothing wrong with a lower completion percentage, of course. It just means that someone is freer, they're more open to playing more games, and they're not tying themselves down to only playing games they know they can complete. So I get the impression from the fact that, he has earned a decent number of platinums here, over 100, but he's also played a lot of games, resulting in a lower completion percentage. I'm going to guess that he's not too worried about that percentage. He's more worried about earning platinums from games he enjoys. So we're going to have a look through, because he did mention that, he started trophy hunting to try and beat a friend of his, so I'm wondering when that started. And I have already had a quick look through this, but not, in too much detail. But one thing you'll notice is if we just start by scrolling up from the bottom, you'll notice that there aren't many games that are 100% complete during his early months and years gaming. Now, as we go up, you start to notice a few more being finished off, at least a few more platinums especially. And I think when we get nearer to the top, you'll notice that there are a lot more 100% games, especially over the last few months. Now, another thing I noticed is that recently he's been playing a lot of games. Now, if we take a look at the dates here, you'll notice that, he's been playing Homefront, Ghost Recon Wildlands very recently, that was yesterday, and No Man's Sky, Clicker Heroes the day before, and there's really not much of a gap between all these different games that he's played. And he has, earned a decent number of trophies on several of them. Now, of course, the last time a game was played doesn't necessarily mean that it was played a lot at that point. It might have been that most of the trophies were earned months ago and then he came back and finished the last one. But as it says here, it only took him a week to complete Homefront: The Revolution. And, he earned the No Man's Sky Platinum in 3 days. But the reason this is showing up, more recent, is because he has jumped back into No Man's Sky. He did earn the Platinum back in 2016, in August, and he started playing again to get the DLC trophies. Now, this kind of stood out to me, because if we go further back, to the start again, you'll notice that most of the games he played, if we use the N button, he was earning Platinums back then, but he wasn't necessarily worrying about the DLC. So there are a lot of games that do have Platinums that he hasn't finished off because there are DLC that's been added. So I'm going to make the assumption that at least back then and up until recently, he's probably been a Platinum chaser rather than a 100% chaser. Now, it could be that he really loves No Man's Sky and he, liked the idea of going back and playing it again. But I'm going to assume that maybe he's kind of started getting more into the idea of reaching 100%. Now, that's going to be quite a big task. Maybe not reaching 100%, but trying to build his percentage, that's going to be quite a task when he's got 229 games played on his account there. But it might be the case that he is, trying to tidy up some of the games that he has on the go from before. Or, like I say, it could just be that he really enjoyed No Man's Sky, which is probably less likely because not many people did, although I didn't find it to be too bad. Now, the reason I mentioned the number of games he's played over the last few weeks and really since the start of the year. If we go back here to January, where are we? Look at this, loads of games in February. Let's go all the way back. Now, I've actually counted. Here's the first game he's played this year. So from Nublar up to the most recent game he's played, there are 55 games. Now, that's over the last 2.5 months. It's only the 10th of March, so less than 2.5 months. Now, if we go back to the bottom, you'll notice that he started playing in sort of mid-2013. So he's been doing it for almost 4 years. And if you figure that out, if you do some math, you'll notice that, if he's played 229 games total in almost 4 years, but 55 of them were over the last sort of 10 weeks, then he's really ramped up his gaming this year. If we compare the number of games he's played in 2017 with the number of games he played in the first 3 months of 2016, we won't find it here, but I calculated it earlier, and he played 11 games in those first 3 months last year, and he's already played 55 games, and we're not even at the end of the first 3 months of this year. So that just goes to show that he's really sort of building the number of games that he's played, but at the same time, he's getting a better sort of completion percentage from the games he's playing. So I'm guessing maybe he's got more time than he used to have, or maybe he's taken gaming or trophy hunting more seriously. I have noticed that over the last few months, he has started playing a lot of the easy platinums that I've pointed out on the channel itself. Maybe ones that he wouldn't have played years ago. I didn't notice all that many games that are considered to be super easy platinums back, in 2013, 14, 15. But nowadays, it does look as though he's kind of taken on a new angle when it comes to trophy hunting. He is trying to build his profile, build maybe his percentage, but at least his number of platinums, and he's definitely beating his friend that he referred to. Now let's have a look at, some of the games he has played. It will be interesting to see, because he is a premium member, he has set up a trophy cabinet. So it's quite nice having a look at the platinums that he's chosen, or at least the trophies he's chosen to be included in his cabinet. And it looks as though he's gone for the rarest ones. Now, if we sort of memorize this, in fact, I'm going to make another tab here. And it would be interesting to see if the trophies he's chosen for his cabinet are the same as his rarest platinums. So we're here at his rarest trophies, if we change it to platinum only. So he's got 7 Days to Die, yep. It's a different icon there. Oh no, there's the icon. Right, okay. So he's got the DC Universe Online plat on both. He's got 7 Days to Die, the other DC one. Now he's chosen not to include that because I'm guessing he doesn't want the same trophy twice on two different versions of the game. He's already got it there, so I'm quite impressed by the fact that he has Platinum DC Universe Online twice. Now, maybe Darren can clear this up for me because I've not actually played the game extensively. I've tried it out on an alternate account, but he's got the PS3 Platinum and the PS4 one. Now, I think you can carry your character over from PS3 to PS4 and maybe vice versa. So I'm guessing you're able to pop the trophies automatically or maybe set things up so you can pop the trophies. So it'd be interesting to hear from him. Whether that is the case or not. We might have a look at the timestamps of his trophies to see if it looks like they did auto pop. But if he has earned both of them, legitimately or, without the ability to auto pop, then that's even more impressive. But either way, just earning it once, it's like 120 to 180 hour platinum. So props to him for that. Respect for the 7 Days to Die Platinum as well. He's done the same here with Grand Theft Auto 5. He's chosen one of them because he's got both versions. That is one that kind of carries across, doesn't it? Although not all the trophies auto pop, so you do have to play some of it again. Homefront, The Revolution. It's actually surprising to me that this one is a rare platinum because it's not a very good game. It wasn't received very well. So I feel like not many people are going to have played it. In fact, where are we? Is it here somewhere? Ark Survival Evolved, there's Homefront. So it's only had 12,000 players, so I was kind of assuming that only trophy hunters would have played it. But, only 422 achievers, so that's a nice rare platinum. Props to him for that one as well. It does look as though he's chosen most of his rarest platinums for the cabinet, apart from a few that he may have earned more recently. He hasn't put on Ark Survival Evolved or Call of Duty Ghosts. I think he's kind of chosen the Guardian Lord, the Destiny plat, and the Modern Warfare Remastered Platinum because he probably really enjoyed those games and he feels like they're trophies that he personally wants to show off, whereas some of the sort of rarer Platinums aren't necessarily as impressive as games like Destiny that aren't that rare but do take a long time and a lot of effort. So if we go back to full screen here, he has, it's quite interesting to see the fact that some of his rarest trophies are from games that are very new. That happens a lot, when you look at your rarest trophies, it's not necessarily that they're hard or long-winded, it's just that the game has only just come out. But, like I say, it's very, very respectable of him to have earned the DC Universe plat. It's not a difficult one, but it does require, a lot of time, so you need to be dedicated to it. Now we're going to just sort of scan through his games from the bottom up. If we zoom back in here, because we're zoomed right out, aren't we? And obviously there are 229 games here, so we're not going to be able to spend a long time on each one. We're just going to kind of scan through and just point out any that stick out to me, and any that are particularly impressive, any that I feel he could finish off quickly. Maybe there are some glitches that could help him or whatever. We're just going to kind of see what we can tell from the games in this collection. Now, Lord of the Rings War in the North, that's the first game he played on the account, and he hasn't got very far with it, so I'm guessing he didn't particularly enjoy it. But this was actually a fun game. I liked it. It's sort of an RPG. It's like a lower spec one, a kind of lower budget one in a way. Although, as Lord of the Rings games go, it is, it's pretty AAA, at least at the time it was. Obviously, it's an older game, and it's not going to hold up nowadays quite so well. But, if you're looking for a PS3 RPG and you really enjoy Lord of the Rings, which I do, and, that's what caused me to play it, you might well enjoy this. It was a bit of a fun little romp, and you can play co-op as well. So it's quite it's got that Lord of the Rings vibe from the Fellowship of the Ring, where you're kind of banded together, you can play with friends and stuff. Heavy Rain is a game that I may do a guide for at some point because it takes most people quite a long time to get all the endings, but it's actually possible to finish it in like a day or two, at least, 2 days easily, maybe 1 day if you really went for it, but it would have to be a very long day. But, I may do a guide because all the guides I've seen online tend to just really beat around the bush and, they have you playing more playthroughs than you need to do, basically. Keep scrolling up here, we'll notice that the first platinum he earned was Saints Row the Third. This was a laugh, that was a fun game, and I think it was probably better than Saints Row 4, to be honest. Saints Row 4 was, of course, remastered for the PS4, and, the remaster wasn't very good. It just still looked like a PS3 game, and it was still fun, but it was a bit I don't know, wasn't quite as focused as the third one. But yeah, that's a fun game. If you like Grand Theft Auto, but you like things to be a bit crazier and a bit more off the wall. The Godfather 2, this was actually a popular game amongst trophy hunters back in the day. It's one of those games that, a lot of people played for the so-called easy platinum. It's not particularly quick, but it's very much doable and, a great game for anyone who feels like they've earned all the easy plats they can, but maybe they've forgotten this one. We were mentioning Saints Row 4 there, that it's not quite as good as 3, and it looks like that's reflected in Darren's opinion of it as well. He put the time into platting the third one, but maybe he was a bit tired of the formula by the time he got to Saints Row 4. Now, there are some games here that, like Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, they sort of make me think that Darren, as we mentioned before, may not have been as much of a trophy hunter back, a few years ago. I'm interested to try and figure out at what point he decided he wanted to try and beat his friend who was at 39 platinums. Because he obviously wasn't doing it back here. Jak and Daxter is a very easy game that can be completed in about 6 hours. So if he was a big trophy hunter at the time, then he probably would have stuck with this one and played it through. But we did read in his comment that he likes to earn platinums on games he enjoys. So, obviously he didn't have as much fun with this as he was hoping to. And there are a lot of games that it looks like he has tried out for a little bit and earned some of the trophies that you get early on in the game, but not stuck with. And that's quite a healthy attitude, I think. I'm not like that myself. I've become more like that recently because my account's quite high level and it doesn't really matter if I have some incomplete games on it. It doesn't affect my percentage too much. But I've always been a kind of completionist. And I kind of envy people who, they can play lots of games, they can try them out, and then, if they don't enjoy them, they just leave them. I'd much rather be like that, to be honest, but some of us are a bit OCD, and it might be that Darren's sort of becoming more like that nowadays, but it's good that he's keeping that mentality of playing games he enjoys, sticking with them to earn the platinum, so that his account is like a reflection of who he is as a gamer. And they're the accounts that are the most fun to review, I think, because if you're looking through someone's account and you know that they're only really platting games that they really enjoy, then it really does tell us what kind of gamer they are, what taste they have in games, what genres they like, and everything like that. So let's keep scrolling up here. He's got the first episode of Back to the Future. Now, it looks like he completed that. Let's have a look, actually, because he's got half the trophies, but he hasn't done... What hasn't he done? Name checked the creators. I think that might be... You know what? I forget. It's been so long. Flawlessly mix the batch of rocket fuel. Discover the origin. Yeah, all of these are like optional trophies. So it looks like he has completed the game. So again, he's playing it for fun. He's got through all the story. I'll be interested to see if he's played the rest of them. Where is it? Because that Back to the Future series, obviously the one that he's played... Crumbs, I've lost my place now. The one that he's played is one of the episodes. Now, this is interesting, because it released on PS3 episodically and there was no platinum. Each one had its own trophy collection. So that's why there's a tick sign here rather than a platinum itself. So if he'd completed it, it would tick that. Now, they re-released it on PS3 on disc, because obviously the episodes were digital, and then the disc-based version was all 5 episodes together, and it did have a platinum. So you could earn all the trophies twice, but only one of them gave you a plat. And then, of course, the PS4 version that re-released, that had a platinum as well. Now, this is from Telltale Games, so you'll know Telltale from their Walking Dead games, and, Game of Thrones, and Wolf Among Us, and Tales from the Borderlands. They put out tons of episodic games almost every year. Obviously, Batman was the most recent one, and they were behind Back to the Future as well. But this was back in the day when their games were more puzzle-based and, weren't just stories. All the trophies were missable, pretty much. A lot of them were. And so you had to follow a guide, a lot like some of the other point-and-click adventures. And then, obviously, the first game that actually turned their series or turned their franchises into such easy platinums was, I believe, The Walking Dead. Now, Back to the Future is still an easy platinum, along with games like Monkey Island, for instance. They're easy plats if you follow a guide, but they did definitely take a different approach to the game design and to the trophies with those older PS3 titles. Above here, we have Splinter Cell Blacklist. Now, I would recommend Darren go back and play this because it's a fairly easy platinum, but it's really enjoyable as well. He's done a little bit of it. Maybe he didn't enjoy it, which is fair enough. But this is a game that we don't really talk about on the channel much. Obviously, it's an older game, and a lot of the PS3 games don't come up very often. But this was one of my kind of surprise hits on the PS3. I totally wasn't expecting it to be anywhere near as good as it was. I thought it was going to be fun. You know, the Tom Clancy games were always fun back in the day. This was kind of in that transitional period between the really good Tom Clancy games, and nowadays a lot of them are a bit lackluster. This was like right smack bang in the middle, so they were pretty much hit and miss around this time. This was a follow-up to Conviction though. Now I bought Conviction on the Xbox 360 and I really enjoyed it. But obviously I didn't play it to death because I wasn't an Xbox player at the time, I was a PlayStation player. I just got it cheap, you know, and I played it a bit, you know, did some of the levels and had a lot of fun with it. And I really wished it would release on the PS3. So when they announced that Blacklist was like a direct follow-up to Conviction, I was excited, you know, I picked it up and like I say, I expected it to be good, but it was actually really, really enjoyable, better than I thought it was going to be. So for those of you who like those kind of espionage games, the stealth action games, obviously it's an older game now, it's on PS3, so it's going to feel like it's aged a bit compared to a lot of the games on PS4. But if you're still playing on PS3 and you've never tried this, it's actually really good. And I really like the way they structure it as well. Obviously, all the Ubisoft games nowadays are structured in the same way. They're all open world and they've got towers you climb to reveal the map and icons and everything. But when it comes to trophies, this game obviously wasn't open world. So you had like a ship that was your base, and you had a map on a kind of table, you know, one of those like strategic maps. And you'd use that to, you know, do your missions and everything, but it was actually structured really well so that it was easy to take or to keep track of the trophies, and it was easy to know what you had left to do, what you'd already done. It was just really nice. It was very user friendly, especially for trophy hunters. So, you know, I'm glad this has shown up on Darren's list because it's a game that I really recommend if you haven't played it before. So we're getting up towards the end of 2013 now, so this is around the time that the PS4 released. In fact, that's something else we can take a look at, is when Darren bought a PS4. So we've got, you know, a bunch of games here. What's he platted? He's got the GTA 5 plat. So I'm guessing maybe he's been playing this, or at the time he'd been playing this for a while. Let's have a look. Nearly 3 months. So he platted it in December. So September he would have started it. And that's probably why there isn't a huge amount of games played in September here. He's only got Battlefield 3, Jak and Daxter, Payday and Mafia, and obviously any of these that he started in September that carried over. But where are we? Yeah, GTA 5. This probably took up a lot of his time over those last few months. But props to him for that. That's a respectable platinum to have. Minecraft there, he's got the platinum for that. Ni no Kuni here, this is one of my favourite PS3 titles. Obviously it didn't appeal to him, and I think it's the kind of game that when you first start playing it, it's either going to appeal to you or not. I think your first impression of it is going to be fairly correct. Now it does build, you know, gameplay wise, it really builds, and it does take a while to introduce you to every new feature. But that's good because it kind of, it gives it a very nice learning curve, you know, it doesn't bog you down with too much information. It makes sure you understand each feature as you come across it, and then it will, you know, give you a chance to play with that feature for a while. And it takes quite some time for it to introduce, you know, more familiars. Now familiars are almost like Pokemon or kind of your little monsters that you use. And it gradually builds you up from 1 to 3. In fact, I think you start off with none, then you get your first one, and then you build up to a roster of 3 at the same time that you can switch between. And then it takes a while before it introduces the second character, and then they build up their group of familiars, and then the third character later on. And it really takes a long time to add all those features, but that's really good because it means that it's the kind of game that less experienced players or people that aren't that used to Japanese RPGs can really understand. They're not being sort of drowned by information from the start. You know, it gives them a chance to ease into things and understand it as they go along. But like I say, it is the kind of game that, you know, if you start it and it really doesn't appeal to you, it's very cutesy, you know, it's cartoony, the graphics are absolutely amazing, but it's very much like it's sort of not aimed at children, but it's very kind of cute, and it might be a bit sickening to some people. And that might have been the case with Darren, because he's only earned, you know, a couple of trophies by the looks of things. So, you know, obviously it didn't appeal to him. But it's the kind of game that if you guys like Japanese RPGs, you like that kind of Disney magic feel, you know, that cuddly sense that you get from certain movies and games, then this is just amazing. I really love it, and I'm so looking forward to Ni no Kuni 2. In fact, right next to it is another one of my favourite PS3 RPGs. Both of these games I absolutely loved. Kingdoms of Amalur, pardon me. It looks like it didn't appeal to him either. This actually has a stacking list. It is quite long-winded, but it's pretty straightforward, really. But I really love the levelling in it, and I was gutted, you know, when the studio that made it kind of fell apart, and I don't think there's ever going to be a sequel. But this was a really great game. Like I say, the leveling in it was really cool. There was a lot of leveling related stuff that you could get involved with, ways in which you could really personalize your character. And I mean, it's really great. If you like fantasy RPGs, then definitely check it out if you haven't already. I do wonder if maybe Darren isn't that into RPGs. We'll have a look and see if there are any RPG platinums in his collection. So Assassin's Creed 2, it's you know, it's not a big surprise that he's platted that. This is the most platinumed game of all time on PlayStation, PSNprofiles.com. More people have earned this platinum than any other plat ever released. So that's quite interesting, and it's one of those games, it was like one of the first games to get trophies, and it wasn't too difficult. A lot of the games back then were quite hard. So, you know, this is a very popular one amongst most trophy hunters and even non-trophy hunters. Although, you know, a lot of non-trophy hunters wouldn't bother collecting all the feathers because that takes quite a while and is rather frustrating. He played Black Flag on PS3, so I'm guessing he's not got a PS4 at this point. Maybe it took him a few months. It'll be interesting to see when he did pick one up. Oh, The Last of Us. Darren, you've got to get back on that, man. Unless you played it on PS4. I'll forgive you if we see it in your, you know, amongst your PS4 trophies. But yeah, one of the best games ever made. I'd be surprised if he hasn't at least finished the game on one of the versions. He has put time into Skyrim, though. Maybe that's what held him back from playing The Last of Us. Pardon me, I'm getting tongue-tied today. Yeah, so, you know, that's quite a long plat. 4 months and 4 days. Borderlands 2, I'm glad he's put at least some time into that, because that's one of my favourite games as well. I'm going to have to keep moving a bit quicker, aren't I? He's got 200 odd games here to get through. Mass Effect 3, that's interesting that he's played the third one. I wonder if we're going to see Mass Effect 1 and 2 show up later on. Great game. You know, it's a shame if he hasn't done the trilogy, but still, even just playing Mass Effect 3, I think the second one is the best one out of the series. But yeah, good on him for earning at least one of the plats from that series, and I can't wait for Mass Effect 4, man. Seriously, that's just going to be epic. That's coming out in a few weeks. He's got the South Park Stick of Truth plat. Oh, Fallout 3, good lad. My favourite game of all time, he's 100%ed. I'm glad to see that. So he's not necessarily, you know, an RPG hater. Maybe he just doesn't like sort of more fantasy or Japanese RPGs. So we're going to kind of scroll up a bit quicker here, guys, because it's going to be a long video otherwise. He's got quite a few games on this list that he could easily jump back in and platinum, you know, if he was wanting to increase his percentage. So games like Crysis is nice and easy. Sleeping Dogs is easy, but a bit longer. Far Cry 3 is pretty straightforward as long as you can find a co-op partner for those co-op maps. We've got Infamous. That was one of my first ever platinums, so that's got, you know, memories for me. What have we got here? He's got the Battlefield 4 Platinum and some of the DLC by the looks of things. That was quite a long-winded one. PVZ, I love that game, man. Oh, and he's, yeah, well done for playing Red Dead. Awesome game. I've just realised that we've scrolled past where the PS4 games... Oh no, we're right there. Okay, so the first PS4 game he played was Battlefield 4, so that kind of makes sense. You know, that's probably why he's earned the Platinum on that one, because when you buy a new console, quite often you really pour your time into whichever your first game is, because it's a new console, you know, you want to play it. So the first game he played on PS4, it looks to be Battlefield 4, and he did stick with it to earn the plat. He's got SteamWorld Dig there. That was a bit of a random game to have as one of your first titles on the new console. But I suppose he did pick it up about a year after it released. We've got, you know, October 2014 here. So what else did he play on PS4? Garden Warfare, Killzone, that was one of my launch titles, but I played it on a separate account because I didn't think I was going to stick with it to plat it. I wasn't sure at the time. I was like, oh, do I want to play it on Stay Patient? I'm glad I didn't in the end, because I wouldn't have had time to finish it off. Quite a long one and quite tricky as well. He went ahead and it looks like he probably earned the Minecraft Platinum sort of from scratch on PS4. Unless... Oh no, okay, so if we put these in order of when he earned them, this looks quite interesting. So 15th of October, he got a lot of trophies then, and that might well be because he carried things over from the PS3. So 15th, and then a lot of trophies on other days, but it looks as though, yeah, he's carried his stuff over from the PS3 and used his maps to be able to get the trophies, but then, he's not done it all on the same day. He's kind of spread it out and done it bit by bit. So let's head back here. We're losing our place every time we go back. That's one thing I don't like about this site. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's keep scrolling up here. Let's focus on the platinums he has earned, because there's so many games in between. I actually quite enjoyed Need for Speed Rivals here. He's not finished it himself, so maybe he didn't enjoy it as much, but I think it's quite a fun arcade racer. There's not as many of those around these days, really. He's probably worked hard for the Battlefield Hardline Platinum. That's one of those games that, it's got one trophy which can be really long-winded. It's an online trophy, but you can make it a lot easier on yourself if you boost it with someone else. So I'm actually going to say that I think probably around this time is when he started trying to beat his friend who had 39 plats. In a minute, we'll take a look at all his plats in order and work out when it was he did reach 39. But this, obviously we've got more platinums showing up. We've got 5 or 6 in quick succession. And the reason Battlefield Hardline makes me think that this is probably the moment that he thought, you know what, I'm going to start going for platinums, is because it's the kind of game that either requires a lot of effort, like I mentioned before, or it requires you to boost. And if someone's not a trophy hunter, if they're just playing games for fun, then they don't tend to boost for trophies. Obviously, the trophy in question was basically for getting a certain number of kills with one of 2 different weapons. You only had to do one of them, but to unlock either one of them was quite a long-winded process. You had to put a lot of time and effort in, but you could team up with someone else who had the weapon, let them die, and then pick up their weapon and sort of boost the trophy by just getting 25 kills or however many it was. It was called like Men's in the Hood or something. So that's why I think that maybe around this time, sort of early 2015, is when he actually started taking trophy hunting a bit more seriously. So let's have a look at some of the other platinums he's earned here. Now this kind of backs up our theory, because Fallout New Vegas here took him 10 months. Now that makes me think that that was probably a game he sort of had on the go, the year before. And then, in fact, let's have a look and see how many trophies he'd earned, see if there's any kind of pattern here. If it was this kind of time that he did start taking trophies more seriously, then it might have been that he'd been playing, Fallout New Vegas on and off maybe. He'd earned a lot of trophies in fairly quick succession. June kind of time, are they all June? Yeah, June 2014. And it seems like he was playing it a lot and enjoying it. He did Platinum and 100% Fallout 3, so he probably carried over that love for the series into this game. And we get up to... we get up to the end of June, and that's when he stopped playing it. And then in May, he came back and finished off the Platinum. So he earned the rest of the trophies that he hadn't finished beforehand. So if we find New Vegas again in the list, that seems to back up the idea that, it was around this time during 2015. Crumbs, where are we? Here we are. Yeah, so it seems like, he'd earned the Battlefield Hardline plat, and he thought to himself, you know what, if I'm going for platinums, I'm not many trophies away from earning the New Vegas one. So he jumped back in and finished that off. And then I'm betting that we're going to start seeing some easy plats showing up. Yep, here we go. So we've got The Walking Dead, we've got Ether 1. He's on a mission at this point to try and beat his buddy. So Saints Row Get Out of Hell, I'm guessing, did he have that from... No, the Sanctuary 4 was on PS3, wasn't it? But, this is... he did enjoy Saints Row 3 at least. He finished the Platinum for that before he'd really started becoming a serious trophy hunter. But rather than playing Saints Row 4 on PS4, he's played Get Out of Hell, which is an easier Platinum and a quicker one. When I say easier, I just mean quicker, basically. So he's got The Walking Dead, he's got Ether 1, he's got The Wolf Among Us... He's got, he has still got some difficult plats, so he's still, he's still got that good mentality of playing games he wants to play and the ones that he's going to enjoy. but it very much looks as though he's on a mission to try and reach those 39 plats and overtake his buddy that he mentioned before. We've got Wolfenstein here, Goat Sim. That's funny, that's an easy platinum apart from one trophy, and we've probably spoken about this on the channel before. But there's one trophy which is really frustrating, but it's totally worth, you know, buying this and diving into it, because that one trophy is earnable, and it's only, you know, even if it takes you a long time, it's only going to be like a couple of hours probably. And when you do pop it, all the other trophies in the game are so easy and so quick. You can do the whole platinum in about 2 hours, you know, bar that one really frustrating flappy goat trophy. But again, we've got some other plats here. And this also kind of backs up what we were saying earlier about the DLC. You know, he wasn't too fussed about DLC for a while, unless he really enjoyed the game. And it looks as though some of the DLC he has earned is from sort of collector's editions or sort of remasters on PS4 that comes with the DLC. But it doesn't look as though he's bought much DLC to finish off the 100% on the games. And that's probably because, you know, he was chasing a platinum goal rather than a completion percentage goal. So if he's racing with his buddy to earn platinums, then that's what he's after. He's not worried about the DLC here. So if we keep going up, you know, a couple more easy plats, Rocket League, and everybody's gone to the Rapture. Maybe you didn't realise The Walking Dead Season 2 didn't have a platinum, but it's still definitely worth playing. It levels you up nicely as well. Saints Row 4. Oh, okay, so there is the second Saints Row game, you know, the PS4 one from the collection. Borderlands 2, I'm guessing because he played this on PS3 but didn't complete it, I don't think. In fact, I'm going to search for that. Let's have a look here. Borderlands 2, there it is, on PS3. Now, he has earned 44 trophies. So just to let you know, Darren, that whatever trophies you've earned on PS3 are a lot easier to earn on PS4 if you carry your character over. Now, there is a video on my channel that talks about how to sort of auto-pop the trophies on the PS4 version. So what you could do is carry your character over from the PS3, pop any trophies that have popped on the PS3 on PS4 by just finishing off, like, for instance, with the challenges, you know, for the challenge trophy, if you do one more challenge on PS4 with that character, it's going to realise that you've done all the ones you need to and pop the trophy. And the same with all the others, really, like with the side quest trophy, completing all side quests, if you do one more side quest, if there's one that you hadn't finished because it's like an added extra on the PS4 version, then that's going to pop you the trophy. And there's lots of them that really do pretty much auto-pop if you go back in. So you could always work on that, you know, if you enjoyed Borderlands. It looks like you enjoyed it enough on PS3 to play a decent amount of it. If we go back to Borderlands 2 here, the Phantom Pain is a real kind of undertaking, quite a long plat there, probably a couple of 100 hours for most people. I still need to finish that one off. He's got some more easy plats here, Life is Strange, Lego Movie, and it'd be interesting, we'll check his plats in a minute and find out which one was his 39th one, because it would be interesting to see if he changes his approach to trophy hunting once he has reached that number, because we are seeing a lot of easy plats peppered in with some of the harder ones that he's played, obviously because he wanted to. That's what gaming's all about, isn't it? Playing games we want to play. GTA 5, he's been able to carry everything across there, I think. Well, most of the stuff. Maybe he played it again from scratch, I'm not sure. Dying Light's a fun game. That was kind of underrated, came out at a weird time, so it wasn't really given that much credit, I don't think. I think it was quite a fun game, though. We've got yet more easy plats, Goosebumps and Grim Fandango, Game of Thrones. Got some fun games here that he's played as well. Need for Speed, well done on the platinum. I think you're going to struggle with that final DLC that you haven't done. There's one DLC in this game. In fact, we're going to have a look. It looks as though he's probably not done much of the DLC. Yeah, the Prestige and Speed list. This is absolutely ridiculous. Winning gold on all Prestige events is apparently just insanely hard, to the point where people assume it's broken and it's been designed incorrectly. I'd be curious to try it out, but you know, I don't think I'm going to get around to. As you can see, at this point, he is earning a lot of platinums within a fairly short period of time. A couple of months here, 3 months where he earned a nice number. So what I'm interested in doing is checking at what point he earned his 39th platinum. So if we just go to, if we go to his rarest trophies, this will take us to all his trophies. We can kind of change the filters here, put it to platinums only, and then change the order to date. And then I think that's everything. So he's got 106 platinums. We want to know what his 46th one was. So he's got 6 on this page. Then on the second page, he'll have 50. So if we take off 10, we've got 3, 6, 9, and 10. So it looks as though Assassin's Creed Syndicate was his 49th platinum. We have got that right, haven't we? Oh, 39 platinums, my apologies. So we've got to take another 10 off. 3, 6, 9, and 10. Okay, so the platinum that reached 39 for him was Life is Strange, and the 40th was the Piece of Resistance. So as you can see here, that was around the time that I mentioned. It did seem as though he was kind of using a lot of easy platinums to try and build up to the 39 that he was aiming for, or 40, I guess, if he wanted to beat his buddy. Yeah, so good going there. Let's see how he's got on after that. Okay, so once he's reached the 40, he has then dived into a game that he probably already had on the go, but he's gone and played Fallout 4, which is obviously a longer platinum. So it seems as though he maybe relaxed himself a bit more there, because you'll notice that we're going back through the pages when we don't need to. Sorry, guys. You'll notice that recently he has played a lot of games that aren't considered easy platinums or quick ones, you know? So I think the reason these games are in a slightly different order to the ones in the list that we just looked at. And I was a bit confused by that, but obviously this is based on the last time he played the game. So if there are DLC trophies, then the game would be further up the list. So that's why Fallout 4 isn't further down, because obviously he earned the platinum, but then he's played it again since then to earn the 100%. So well done. I'm glad to see he's clearly a fan of Fallout, because he's earned the platinum from all 3 and all the DLC from at least Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. So he's a man after my own heart, very much a fan of the same genre as me. Let's see, where did we get up to? We're going to kind of just scan through a little bit, check for any standout games that he's done. A lot of, easy ones here. Actually, we've covered all these, haven't we? Let's keep going. Shadow of Mordor, great game. He played Black Flag again. It doesn't look as though he's platinumed either version, so he's obviously not a fan. But by this point, he will have earned the 40 plats that he was after. So you'll notice, actually, it's quite interesting seeing people's journey, because where did we say? It was around here, wasn't it? When he thought to himself, you know what, I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to try and beat my buddy. We've got 4 plats there, another one here, a few popping up, and then a huge number of them, or at least, a decent sort of period where he was really going for platinums over the space of a few months. And then around this time, at some point here, was where he earned his 40th, I believe. Maybe the Game of Thrones. That was, I think, his 39th one. And obviously Fallout 4 was around that same area, but he's played the DLC since then. So you'll notice here, once he's got to that point, he has kind of relaxed a bit. So he's gone back to the mentality that he mentioned in his comment, where if he enjoys a game, he goes for the platinum. So once he'd kind of got past that milestone that he set for himself, he has started playing more games just for fun, giving some games that have got good reviews a go, maybe not sticking with them for too long. Assassin's Creed 3 was a funny one. It was kind of received well, but people's memory of it is quite bad. It's considered to be one of the worst Assassin's Creeds, even though at the time it was like a big release. Everyone was really excited because it had this whole new approach to the Assassin's Creed series. He's got the COD Ghost Platinum. He's not stuck around with Overwatch. Maybe he didn't have too much fun with it. Obviously, very difficult Platinum. Let's see here. He's still earning plats and earning 100% as well. Ratchet and Clank, awesome game. If you've not played that, just go out and play it. That kind of reminds you that games should just be fun, screw realism and everything. I mean, it's a beautiful looking game, but it's just all about fun. It's such a good laugh. He's got Bully here and another GTA game. 7 Days to Die, that was one of his most impressive ones. In fact, it looks as though most of his most impressive platinums have come more recently, because, like I say, he's gone back to playing games he enjoys. And as he mentioned in his comment, if he enjoys a game, he's going to stick with it. It doesn't matter how hard it is or how challenging or long-winded, he's going to stick with it until it's done. So although we did see some easy platinums popping up on his account, he was pretty much just using those to give himself the boost to overtake his friend, And then since then, he's kind of focused more on the games that he enjoys, no matter how tough they are. Now, DC isn't one of the tough ones, but it is long-winded. And as you can see, it's an interesting one when it comes to DLC, because it's a bit like Drive Club. It's one of those games that has so much DLC that even if you earn the platinum, you've still only got a very small percentage of the game finished. So if you do want to 100% this, you do need to put in a lot more effort, obviously, earn a lot more trophies, but that does mean that they're very, very rewarding. In fact, DC Universe Online, I believe, is the second most rewarding game trophy-wise on any of the PlayStation consoles. The first one is Drive Club, and Sound Shapes is right up there as well. But yeah, very, very rewarding game if you can put the time into earning every single last trophy. I'm glad to see he's earned the 100% on Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition. That's the PS4 version, of course, because earlier on we noticed that, in fact, I think we've got it here. He's playing the stacking version. I think there's a foreign version, maybe Japanese or German. No, I think it's German. It looks like he enjoyed it enough to want to play it again, because he's earned the 100% on the PS4, one of the PS4 versions. And on the other PS4 version here, he's just started it recently. What's that, 6 days ago? So he's playing that at the moment by the looks of things. But he didn't get on very well with it on PS3. Maybe he's just changed his preference, or he didn't have time for it. I think maybe because the PS4 came out. I bet that was why it was. I bet he started playing Sleeping Dogs, and on July the 13th, or at least, a couple of days before this, in fact, on July the 10th, he bought a PS4, or, sometime before then anyway, because he took 5 days and 18 hours to platinum Battlefield 4. And so that would take us back to the 10th. And that kind of explains his low completion here on the PS3 games, because he had a PS4 and he didn't want to be spending time on those PS3 titles. It was probably because Sleeping Dogs was free at one point. I think it was free on PlayStation Plus, so he probably tried it out. I think Far Cry 3 as well. So that's probably the reason why he's played these here. Just to sort of test things out, test the game out and see if he enjoys them. But then obviously the PS4 took up the rest of his time during that week. So if we go back up here, in fact, we can search for Sleeping Dogs just to get us back to where we were. Now, I was curious myself about Star Trek Online. I like the idea of MMOs, and there aren't many on consoles, of course, on PlayStation. So I was curious, but it looks like it didn't really grab him. Is that PS4? Yeah, he's not got a Vita. I was going to say for a minute, that's Tearaway. I was going to check if it was PS4 or Vita, but obviously the unfolded suffix does indicate that it is the PS4 version. Let's keep going here. Mafia 3, that's quite a fun game. He's not finished it yet. Maybe he'll go back and do it. It's not great, to be honest, but I kind of went in with low expectations, so I had a bit of fun with it. He is still playing the occasional easy platinum. In fact, I think we saw Day of the Tentacle back here, but it does look as though obviously he's following I'm not going to scroll all the way down and find it. Oh, there it is. Okay, Day of the Tentacle. So yeah, he is playing the occasional easy platinum, but only like the super easy ones, just to bulk out his collection. The majority of games he's playing are the ones that are fun and enjoyable. Titanfall 2, well done for getting that. The Becomes the Master trophy is quite tricky. My name is Mayo here, one of the easiest platinums ever released, of course. And it does look as though he's obviously, because he's been following my channel for the last few months, and over those last few months, he has ramped up his gaming as well. There are, some easy platinums creeping into his collection again around this time. And I think that might be based on the fact that he's been following my top 10s and my weekly updates and everything. And that's sort of introducing him to the idea of some of these straightforward trophy sets. He obviously got on better with Modern Warfare Remastered than he did with Infinite Warfare, which is exactly the same as me. I tried Infinite Warfare briefly and just didn't bother with it anymore. But Modern Warfare Remastered is very nostalgic for me. I spent loads of time on that game back in the day. It was before I was a trophy hunter, so I was playing the online just all day, every day pretty much. I got pretty good at it as well. So it's really nice to be able to go back and play that. Although I was disappointed that they didn't add any online trophies. I know most of you hate online trophies, but I would have loved an excuse to really play a lot of that online again. But without the trophies, I just can't sort of justify that kind of time. The PS4 version of Assassin's Creed 2, he's earned that again. Coffin Dodgers, maybe he struggled with that. I know some people do, they find it a bit trickier than they were expecting it to be. As you can see here, we're getting up sort of towards the end of 2016 and into this year. And like I mentioned, it does look as though he is adding more easy platinums. I think he's kind of got to that point where originally, he wasn't a trophy hunter to start with. Then he set a goal to beat his friend and he reached that goal and then he kind of relaxed a bit. But then over that time, he was still popping some platinums. He was playing the odd easy game. He was earning plats on games that he enjoyed. And I think most of us will kind of be able to relate to the fact that when you start building up your account and when you see it growing and you see it kind of reaching a decent number of platinums or a decent level, then it does sort of suck you in more. It does kind of motivate you to put more effort into trophy hunting, and that seems to be what's happened here. After a bit of a lull where he kind of relaxed a bit more, he has gotten into the habit of platting lots of games once again. You can see them all popping up here. And again, like I say, he's playing a lot of the games that I have recommended on the channel. So these are ones that you can do in a few hours or a few minutes even. So they're not like taking too much time away from the games that he really wants to be playing. But we've got quite a few easy ones here. And then let's have a look. He's played Bridge Constructor. He's not finished that. That's apparently harder than a lot of people make it out to be because some of the guides aren't that reliable, or maybe there are sort of RNG elements where even if you follow a guide, what works for one person might not work for someone else. Yeah, almost like all the games that I speak about on the channel. It's nice to see that he's keeping up with everything that I discuss, all the easy plats. Some of them are quite enjoyable. Obviously, the Bunker's quite a good story. The Little Acre's a nice story with a nice kind of nice art style and a nice just general style about it. Nice atmosphere, I guess you'd say. Jazz Punk is a good laugh. It's crazy and weird, but memorable. Let's see here. We're getting up towards the last few months. So he's still playing the games that are, going to take a bit longer. I mean, Battlefield 1 isn't a long one by any means, but obviously when they add some DLC, it will extend that time requirement. Let's see, Clockwork Tales there. Okay, and he's got another stint here throughout the end of January and into February. Maybe Skyrim explains the lull here. He didn't have much time to put into these games because he was playing Skyrim, which took him 3 months. So that's quite interesting, that despite all the platinums he earned around this time, back in January, he was sort of, I guess, a lot of these were easy ones. So the reason why they're all straightforward ones wasn't because he was focused on those easy platinums. It was because during that time, he was focused on, where is it? Skyrim. Where's it gone? It's disappeared. He's deleted it. Oh, crumbs. Wow. Oh, there it is. Okay, I was looking for Skyrim in the, the word Skyrim in the icon. So yeah, this took him 3 months, which would have taken us back to the ending of the year before, November the year before. So yeah, that explains those easy plats. He was probably using them as a kind of way of taking a break from Skyrim. Oh, and he's also finished off Destiny here. So yeah, maybe that was a case of going back and doing the DLC. That's not something that he'd necessarily been playing lots over the last few weeks or months up to this point, because it did take him 2 years and 4 months. Obviously, I'm guessing he was a day one player because, yeah, he would have been, wouldn't he? Because it came out in September 2014, I think. So that would, maybe not a day one player, but at least, what's that, October, November, December, January. Yeah, he started it roughly around, the kind of time it launched, somewhere around that month or the following month. Oh, he's got the Battlefront Platinum as well. It's quite a long one. Okay, let's keep going here. It's nice to see as well that he's still playing PS3 games, because there are some really great games on PS3 that some people just ignore because, the PS4's here and they think, right, PS3 is sort of outdated. But Spec Ops: The Line is a really, really good game. Now, obviously, this is one that he started before the PS4 came out, so he's gone back and tidied it up, which kind of, adds to my assumption that he may be sort of concentrating a bit more on finishing off older games nowadays, because this is literally a month ago. So, we have noticed some DLCs that he's gone back to play and some PS3 games that he's finishing off here. But I'm glad he did that, because Spec Ops: The Line is another one of those hidden gems on PS3. It's actually going to show up in a future top 10 that I'm planning, to do with the kind of hidden gem games on PS3. It's definitely worth going back and playing. A really good story. It's like the only military shooter I've ever played that's had an actual genuinely interesting and fascinating story. and one that you can't see what's coming. It's not just about a war, you know, it's all about your character's personal experiences and everything. I won't spoil it too much, but definitely play it. If you still have your PS3 and you can get hold of Spec Ops: The Line, then it's definitely worth your time. As you can see, like we mentioned earlier, he's playing a lot of games in quick succession these days, so maybe he's got more time for it, we don't know. He has now gone back and done Mass Effect. So maybe he did play Mass Effect 1 and 2 before Mass Effect 3. In fact, again, I apologise for the loud typing. It's simply because, is because the keyboard is sat on the same table as the microphone, so it goes up through the bass. Anyway, Mass Effect 3 here. He played this back in May 2014. He started it just at the end of April. So that's April 2014. Now, he started Mass Effect 1 and 2 2 years and 9 months before February 2017. Now that actually takes us pretty much to exactly around May 2014 again, doesn't it? And obviously it's not exact, it doesn't tell you the amount of weeks as well. It just says 2 years and 9 months. So I'm guessing that he did play them all. Earlier on I saw Mass Effect 3 and I thought, oh, he's only played the one, but it looks like he did play them in order. So well done, buddy. He's played Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3. But the thing is, obviously, he decided to stick around and platinum Mass Effect 3, although he hadn't finished the first two. And then obviously recently, like I said, he seems to be coming back and finishing off some unfinished games over the last couple of months. So he's kind of gone ahead and done these as well. So he does have the whole series, you know, all the trophies, or at least all the platinums from the 3 games, and he did play them in order. And that's obviously the best way to play them. Mass Effect 2 came out before Mass Effect 1 on the PS3, so a lot of people, they had to go through like a comic book style interactive story thing at the start of the game to make decisions that were made during the first game that they couldn't make, obviously, because the game wasn't available on the PS3. But thankfully that did count as a playthrough, basically. So there's a trophy for completing it twice, or completing it with a character that's carried over from the first game. So if you go through that comic strip thing at the start of the game and make the choices that you would have made, then that does count as having played through the first game. So you don't have to play Mass Effect 2 twice. Anyway, what's he playing more recently? He's got Killing Floor 2 nearly finished. He's done Watch Dogs 2. There we go. This is the game I was looking out for, one of them at least. He played The Last of Us on PS3, didn't get very far with it. In fact, he might have, let's see, The Last of Us. Okay, so I looked at this and I was like, oh, he hasn't really played The Last of Us, but because of the way the trophies are structured, there are actually, if we put them in the order of date, most of the trophies are optional. You know, they're things that that you don't need to do. So if you finish the game, yeah, he has finished the game. So finished left, oh no, that's Left Behind. Yeah, okay, here we are. Completed the game on easy. So he has done it. When you look at a Last of Us trophy set, you know, on someone's account and they've only got like 1 trophy, you might think they started the game and then gave up and like didn't bother playing through more than like the first few minutes, because in most games there's a trophy that pops almost straight away. You know, you get one for finishing the first level or whatever. But with The Last of Us, obviously, most of the trophies are related to completing playthroughs or getting the collectibles. So, you know, when I was kind of assuming he hadn't finished it, that was just me being a bit noobish and forgetting how the trophies are set up. But I'm glad to see he has gone back and 100%ed it as well, because, or at least platted it, because I do find that The Last of Us is so much more enjoyable if you play it on Survivor difficulty. Anyway, we've got some more easy plats showing up here, some of which he hasn't quite finished yet. He's playing all. Props to him for at least going for the trophies on Elder Scrolls Online. I'm not sure if he is going for the Platinum. It's a super hard and super long-winded one. Good luck to you, buddy, if you are trying for that one. I have my fingers crossed for you. But like I say, it's nice to see him playing pretty much any game he wants to. He's not sort of restricting himself to games that he knows he can plat. It's got Tomb Raider on the go here. I still have to play that. I've got it in my pile behind me, ready to play. It looks amazing. He's platted The Division, so he's got quite a few long games on this account as well. Horizon Zero Dawn is an excellent game, guys. Totally recommend it. I'm playing it currently. It's nice to see he's going back to Sleeping Dogs again. I really love that. Another one of those kind of hidden gem games on PS3. And here we are, up to the games he's basically playing currently. So as you can see, he's the kind of guy that does jump onto games, as soon as they release, if it's something he's interested in playing. Even if he has stuff on the go, he's going to dive into it. And that's what has resulted in lots of games being unfinished. But, that's a really good approach to trophy hunting, I think, and that's how a lot of you approach it as well. So he's playing Ghost Recon Wildlands here. I'd love to hear in the comments below, actually, Darren, your impression of Ghost Recon. Let us know. It looks like you've played a decent amount of it. It strikes me as quite a long platinum, but whatever you've played so far, I'd love to hear your impression of. And Homefront as well, actually, that got really terrible reviews, but he has stuck around and platted it. And I don't think it's a quick and easy plat, so maybe if he is only completing games that he enjoys or that are nice and easy and quick, then maybe that's a sign that he did enjoy Homefront more than most people. I'd love to hear your opinion on that as well, buddy. But there we go, guys. I think we're going to kind of pretty much leave it there because, of course, this has been a long video. I've had a lot of you say that, you'd love to have this series back. You don't care how long the videos are. You really enjoy getting stuck into someone's account with me and finding out what we can. But Darren here's got a very nice account. Obviously, like we said before, he's focused on platinums rather than a completion percentage, although it looks like he is going back and finishing some games. So maybe he will be able to build that completion percentage up to maybe 80% or something. Everyone tends to have games on their account that are impossible to platinum now or are impossible to 100% because of server closures and things like that. But it is an impressive account. He's got a lot of decent platinums on there. He's got some difficult ones. We looked through his hardest plats, things like DC Universe Online, 7 Days to Die, and there were a few others there. He spent a lot of time on a lot of these games, and he's doing a lot of gaming these days, a lot of trophy hunting. And it's quite cool that he sort of set himself a goal of beating a friend of his that was already a trophy hunter, and now he's pretty much dwarfing that friend. He's got more than double that guy's platinums, and I'd like to bet that his account's a lot more impressive as well. So this has been really interesting, Darren. Thanks very much for offering your account for a review. It's been nice reviewing one that's really quite different to the previous one we did. We looked at Sylvanus's account a few months ago, and he had recently put a lot of effort into literally reaching 100% on every single game he played. But it's nice being able to take a different angle when looking at the account, because obviously you've got a lot of games that aren't finished, which is absolutely fine, and it kind of shows a healthy attitude towards trophy hunting, and it makes the account a bit more interesting to look through as well, because we can sort of look at the games you have finished, the ones you haven't, games that you've gone back and finished later on, depending on, maybe you've changed your approach to trophy hunting, or you've changed your preferences, or maybe, in some of the cases, I think you played earlier games in series, and that kind of prompted you to go back and play some of the games that you had already started but hadn't stuck with long enough. So yeah, this has been fun. I hope you've enjoyed it, guys. I'm sorry if I've really rambled on. These videos do tend to kind of drag on a bit. But like I mentioned at the beginning, if you'd like to have your account reviewed, then check out the rewards on the Patreon page, which is linked in the description below. It's patreon.com/stay-patient. And for the rest of you, thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this series, what you think of the approach I've taken to this video today. I'd really love to be able to adjust it and, gear it more towards you guys. If there are things that you think need changing or adjusting, if you think it should be quicker, if you think I should focus on some different things on the account when we're looking through. If there are some things you particularly enjoy and you'd like them to kind of fleshed out a bit more, or if there are some things you found were unnecessary, then just let me know in the comments and we'll try and adjust it as we go along to make sure it's enjoyable to watch. So thank you once again, guys. Thanks for all the support on the channel and for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, of course, and I'll look forward to catching you all very soon for my next video. Cheers.